inspired. I'm inspired.
Hey there guys, how's it going? My name is Sumedh Chatterjee from the Flow Zone Academy, and I'm a flow state coach, which means that I help you feel better and perform better. Today I'm talking about how to leverage strong and powerful emotions and leverage them towards your betterment, your growth, your performance, and your productivity. This was another question by our good friend Josh, and it's a very powerful question because it's something that we always come across. It's like, how do you actually use these powerful, or some would say negative, emotions to be able to use them for your own betterment and growth? There's a general misconception about negative emotions of being actually negative, because sometimes they can really help us to figure out what's going on and to solve a problem, right? Emotions are just signals from the body telling you that something is off, that something needs to be corrected within you, or you need to take some decision that you haven't made, or do something to heal, essentially, okay? In general culture, there's a negative idea about negativity, and so we live in this toxic, fluffy, positive culture that everything is going to be fine, wishful thinking, kind of mentality of just ignore it, just keep doing what you're doing. And the more you start ignoring those negative feelings and negative emotions, it'll pop up in unhealthy ways in the future, right? So you want to deal with it now and be able to use it for your betterment and growth. And this is why I find that this question is so valuable. The first thing that I would tell you is to own your storyline. Whatever that happened to you to make you feel that strong charge of emotion happened to you for a reason. So reframe it, not that it's happened to you, but it's happening for you for a reason. So you want to own your storyline. You want to be like, man, this happened to me for a very particular reason, and it's there for my betterment and growth. That's the first mindset switch. There's certain artists who do this really well, right? Like, for instance, grime artists or rappers who use their rage or their anger. Eminem, I got started in rapping because of Eminem. However, you'll notice his lyrics, man, like when he first began, when he was emanating and going into his alter ego of Slim Shady, a lot of his lyrics were very angry lyrics, and that was the persona that he was sort of creating for himself. And he was using his rage to send a message through his music. So using the rage as a catalyst towards transforming others with his words, keeping a flow and keeping a ferocity in the way he does something. So ferocity and grit are extremely important when it comes down to motivation, right? So you could be anxious about a situation, or you can understand there's danger right now, and my senses are becoming very narrow and focused. It's becoming heightened and very ferocious, right? When you find that happening, when you find that zooming in effect of like the Dolby Theater effect, right? When you find that thing happening, you want to basically understand, what is the character flaw there that I need to change, right? What is the thing that is really deeper about this? Because a lot of men, we show anger as the baseline emotion because it's societally not conditioned into us to show fear or sadness and a couple of other emotions, or confusion. And so a lot of guys, it comes across through rage or anger, okay? That's one thing to understand too. Another thing that I want to share with you is, of course, the scale of consciousness, or the scales of energy by Frederick Dodson or Dr. David R. Hawkins. These are two references I'm giving you, right? So one is the scale of consciousness, which you might have seen in Power versus Force, which is a book, or levels of energy by Frederick Dodson is another level of energy chart, right? And you can notice that what is above anger, essentially, right? Above anger is things like pride and courage. So understand that you might have to get prideful about your anger in order for you to actually overcome it at times. And this is why it becomes a fuel. This is why it becomes a motivation when you're looking at it from a consciousness or an energetic standpoint, okay? Now, I'm not talking prideful like boasting or arrogance. It's mainly the pride for you to do what needs to be done, right? You are the hero of your own storyline, and so you know that there's something powerful that needs to be done in this moment to shift and transform. The problem I feel is a lot of people, they get angry at a situation and they get angry in the present moment, right? They get angry at what is happening right now, and that's okay to change your situation up. right? You can get angry at yourself for not taking that action or whatever, right? Beat yourself up. Or you can get angry and use that anger for your future. Use anger as fuel for creating a better future for you. You can use it as creation or destruction. I want you to use anger for creation. One of my mentors, AZD, right, he started this whole why incident process because of the fact that, one of his girlfriends cheated on him at the time. It really broke his heart, and he used that energy of the heartbreak, the betrayal of the guy that she cheated on him with, and he would have a picture of that guy on his phone. And he started something called the beast process, where he would work out, right, using this rage and energy inside of him. I used that actually quite recently, the same process, but just use that energy to work out, right, get a better body. Right, use the rage to actually push you, be like, no, I'm better than you, I'm going to prove you wrong. Lower motivation is better than no motivation. What is lower motivation? There's lower motivation, there's higher motivation. Higher motivation is like, man, I'm doing this for betterment of society, right? I'm doing this to help the earth in some way. I'm doing this to be of service, right? But a lower motivation is like, I'm doing it for myself and my selfish gain and my ego. That's still better than no motivation, right? No motivation would be like you just staying in your room, not doing anything, kind of waiting for time to pass, waiting for something to happen to you, all this kind of stuff, right? So lower motivation would be something like, man, I'm going to prove everybody wrong. Everybody that doubted me, I'm going to prove it wrong, right? Let's say we're using the example of working out. I'm going to prove everybody wrong, right? Secondly, I'm going to look so good naked, right? These are all personal, very egotistical reasons, right? But they're important, though. You want the pride to override the anger, in this case. The third thing that you could say is, this is a way that I'm going to demonstrate to the world that they misjudged me. That kind of lower motivation is really powerful, man. If you can use it and channel it in the right way. Of course, you don't want to stay there, because you are going to go through this process of evolution, of rising in your consciousness level and rising in your level of motivation. We got to understand how to use anger, right? Not just reacting impulsively from it, but really taking this space to do it smart. Like, for instance, I record my own voice when I'm feeling a very powerful or strong emotion, because then later when I'm in a calmer headspace, I can listen to it and really deconstruct what is going on here. Right? I sometimes exaggerate it out of proportion to make myself laugh at times too. Right? I'll be like screaming profanity, beating my chest, like just letting it go into the phone and recording it. And then later on I just laugh because it's like I'm ridiculous at a certain point. Like I sound like a movie character like Scarface or something yelling into this phone, right? Anger is a precise, meaningful weapon. A lot of times we feel rage because we haven't been able to create the right type of boundary with another person, and so we get angry, right? They keep crossing the boundary, and so we keep getting frustrated and irritated. However, there's no use getting angry over something that you can't control. Again, Stoic principle, right? You don't want to, you will have your circle of control, but then you have things outside of your control. So this is a great example, man, and also completely calling out the things that are there in the moment, like calling out the truth. We were evolved for language to call out the truth in the environment and what is. We weren't there to go internally and say, oh, maybe I'm like this or I'm like that, right? A tiger isn't thinking, oh, maybe I'll be a tiger today. I'm not too sure. Maybe I'm going to do that. Right? But us humans, we're like, oh, maybe I'll do this. Maybe I'll do that. We have that attitude, whereas we can actually use the anger to show up so much stronger, align with nature and nature's code, and just be able to go out and beast out on the world. Like, that's the mentality. I'll give you another example. Like, let's say you're fighting with someone, you're having an argument with someone. How can you transform that anger into, let's say, trust or lust? Or, I'm going to start rapping now, man. Transform your emotion into trust or lust. I just want to shake off the dust and rust. I'm going to write that down. Like, you're arguing with someone and you transform, you call it out like, hey, look, I understand that you're angry about something right now. Is that right? Or am I totally way off? Like, tell me what's going on. And they tell you more what's going on. You repeat back to them what you thought you understood. And then you call it out. You call it out. You call it out. What is going on? I'm seeing this. I understand it like this. And you get clear. You get clarity. Once you get clarity, then you can have a baseline to transform that anger into something else, right? Because sometimes when we're speaking out of anger, there's a miscommunication happening, there's a misjudgment happening, there's assumptions happening. Stay with the emotion, feel the emotion until you get the feeling of, man, something has clicked inside of me, right? So I would sit with the pain, sit with the feeling of sadness. Let's say you meditate for 30 minutes on sadness, just focusing on that sadness. At the end of those 30 minutes, something will shift inside of you because you've given yourself the intention that I'm here to transmute this energy, right? So you sit with it, you sit with it, you sit with it. Maybe you get some images and feelings and bad feelings and memories come up. And now, how do I edit the screenplay of the theater in my mind? You can look at it as a sad movie where tragedy is happening or crumbling, or you can say, this is training for me. This is not a tragedy. This is training for me to make me a better person, right? So a lot of this is a mindset shift that takes place in order for you to actually get out of a negative situation per se. But also you want to embrace the storyline like I said in the beginning, okay? So whatever's happening, amor fati, I love my fate. Be able to embrace it, take on that mentality, and just be able to face it head on, call it out for what it is. It's not real, it's an illusion, whatever it is, just call it out, man. And you'll notice the false ideas just fizzle away. Use that rage on the punching bag, use that rage in terms of what you're doing. Of course, you want to have a calm mind when you're with whatever you're doing, but in the moment, it's just so powerful when you can transmute that rage and that anger into a direction, into creating your character, into your future self. There's something powerful about that explosiveness and that primal energy, but having structure and mechanics around it. Isn't that what martial arts is? Right? It's just every man knows that they have a fighter inside of them and a lover inside of them. And if they can create some structure and boundaries and rituals around it, man, you're all set, okay? So I hope this video helped you out today. Have an amazing day. May the flow be with you. Stay legendary. Boom.